1977, the Polish biblical scholar and Catholic priest J.T. Milik published 4Q147, a scroll he titled 4Q Phylactery T. This work was catalogued by Milik as a phylactery or tephiline. Tephiline were small leather boxes containing scrolls of parchment inscribed with verses from the Hebrew Bible. Tephiline were worn by observant Jews in fulfillment of the command given in Deuteronomy 11:18, which states, "You shall therefore lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes." 4Q147 consists of 12 leather fragments in various states of preservation. Milik, however, was unable to decipher the work on account of the handwriting, which he described as practically indecipherable. Milik was not exaggerating. While distinct shapes certainly existed in this manuscript, the blobs of ink were not easily read, especially using 1970s technology. It took 42 years before this work was finally able to be deciphered. In 2019, a preliminary reconstruction, translation, and commentary of 4Q147 was supplied by Ariel and Fina Feldman. While tephiline usually contained passages from the biblical books of Exodus and Deuteronomy, 4Q147 features a non-scriptural text. Additionally, the scroll contains the remains of language reminiscent of other anti-demonic works found in Qumran, and therefore has been suggested to be the remains of an amulet. The second fragment of this work reads as follows: "For he had power over, and Heliel will bind them, Raphael will frighten them, and..." The act of binding evil spirits is attested to in other anti-demonic works. In the later Aramaic incantation bowls, for example, one spell reads as follows: "This is the binding, this is the sealing that exist and subsist forever, for removing and driving out every male and female demon. May they all be tied, surrendered, sealed, pressed down, and annulled." Likewise, in the New Testament book of Matthew, Jesus tells the Pharisees that, "But if it is by the Spirit of God that I cast out demons, then the kingdom of God is come upon you. Or how can someone enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods, unless he first binds the strong man?" The strong man is understood here to be Satan, who is bound during the exorcism ritual. Based on this, some interpreters have suggested that Jesus is granting the power to bind and loose to the Apostle Peter in Matthew 16 also refers to the power of exorcism. More likely, however, the words bind and loose in Matthew 16 refer to the rabbinic practice of forbidding and allowing certain practices based on one's interpretation of the Torah, often referred to as halakha. The angel Heliel is mentioned in the later Jewish mystical text Sefer HaRazim as an angelic servant to one of the three princes named Dalkiel. Dalkiel, and by extension Heliel, are in charge of igniting and extinguishing fires. The angel Raphael, whose name is associated with the Hebrew word for heal, is also commonly called upon in later Jewish amulets to protect the wearer. In one amulet, for example, Raphael is referred to as the Prince of Healings, and is called upon in a list with other angels such as Michael, Gabriel, Azrael, and others to heal a certain Gesenius, son of Demetia. One problem with identifying this text as an amulet, however, is that, as the scholar Gideon Bohawk observes, in spite of the well-attested Jewish use of tephiline and mezuzot in the Second Temple period, there is virtually no evidence for the Jewish use of written amulets throughout this period. Some scholars, however, have argued that tephiline were in fact amulets. The size of this scroll, as well as its contents, seem best interpreted as being an amulet. If this is the case, it is one of the earliest attestations to this practice in the Second Temple period. In a future episode, I will discuss the topic of amulets more generally. Specifically, who created them and how, and also what kind of people would have made use of them. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons to be notified when new videos come out.